1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show.
Be collective. For instance, buying a house, or for instance, having a day off, or going to Egypt rather than going to Spain, or having a child rather than deciding. Actually, that's not part of it, because women have control over having a child. That's 100%, you know. So it's not control, like controlling attitude. It's just control. When I say control, and I probably have chosen the right choice of word for that, but it is control in a decision making, in something that would be a collective decision making. Like, do you want to watch? Would you rather let me watch football rather than EastEnders or something? That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I think so. Yeah, you've lost me on your explanation, because you seem to be saying control means you will make the decisions. Now, surely the decisions, and certainly bigger decisions, right, and I include whether you together have a child. You say it's the woman's control, but that must be a joint decision. So I'm not sure why you would feel you can make decisions because this woman is mad about you. That's gonna put you on rocky ground, I would have thought, isn't it?
Right. So let's just go back to that decision making. Now, when you say having a child is supposed to be collective, or is collective, well, I would say it's supposed to be collective, because she'll wear you down. She just wear you down. That's the thing. So you have no jurisdiction over that. They try to make us believe that we do, but we don't. You know, she wants to take it, and she will do it. And the only way you can avoid that is by, you know, having a snip, or just generally being cautious. But that is not something that a man can have a collective decision on. They sort of wear you into that. So that apart. Now, when you come to the buying a house, for instance, say for instance you wanted to buy a house in London. She prefers the countryside, right? Now, if she has more influence over the decision making in the house, chances are you would end up in the countryside. It's not two ways about it. You're not going to London. You're nowhere near London. You'd end up somewhere in Cumbria or something. So that is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I want to be able to have a little bit of, be the man, say, right, okay, so we're going to London, aren't we? And then she says, well, do we have to? And I say, it'll do us good. And she'll say yes. That's what I mean.
I don't think you believe what you're saying yourself, Emmy, do you? Cuz
I'm trying to convince myself. It's hard.
They say when you're in a hole to stop digging. That's what you should. And the other thing I would say here is that, you're acting, or when you talk about this, you seem to suggest that, you've got an absolute situation there that this woman is crazy about you, and you've got an absolute situation there where you're crazy about them. And as if you make your choice, whichever one you choose, and it's always, you seem to be implying that it's always going to be that way. This woman who's crazy about you will be crazy about you no matter what you do, say, or how you can may or may not control the decisions you have. The whole point of relationships is that they are dynamic, aren't they? They don't stay the same. And what may be true in the first fledglings of that relationship, a few weeks or months, certainly won't be true in the same way after 6, 12 months, a couple of years, and certainly into a going on from there into a relationship. So that's the whole point. It's a dynamic thing. And maybe it raises that other thing that, we hear sometimes in other cultures about arranged marriages, for example.
Right.
I think that's part of the culture in India. And I suppose in the West, we might look down upon that and say that's not.
The leader of our gang will make the show go with a bang and fund the aim of everything customers and fund the aim of everything customers.
So that's the whole point. It's a dynamic thing. And maybe it raises that other thing that, we hear sometimes in other cultures about arranged marriages, for example.
Right.
I think that's part of the culture in India. And I suppose in the West, we might look down upon that and say that's not the way to do it. People shouldn't be forced to marry somebody else. And I don't think they should be forced to marry somebody else. But it does also raise the point about, what is ultimately more likely to be a successful marriage or relationship between a man and a woman, or for that matter, I suppose, a gay relationship as well. What is more likely to be successful? This falling in love, I think it's an interesting phrase, that, isn't it? Falling in love, because falling doesn't kind of sound positive, does it? It sounds a sort of a bit of a negative. And I guess we would all say, when you fall in love, it may be gradual, it may be very quick, but it gives you all sorts of incredible feelings, very high, sometimes very low, if you start to doubt the other person and so on. So falling in love is an interesting phrase in itself. But yes, there's many, I'm sure, relationships out there, marriages and not marriages, where people don't necessarily get married, but which have gone on for years and years. But I think most people would say you do have to kind of, work at a relationship. That sounds a bit pessimistic, but I think people have got to put in to a relationship, because it is a dynamic thing. We all change as time goes by. And hopefully a couple will change together and understand each other and get deeper in love or whatever. But some would say it's much better. I suppose this is what dating apps do. They look at people's compatibility in terms of what they like, what they don't like, what they do in their spare time, and all the rest of it, as if having a lot of matches there in similarities of what you like and what your hobbies are, as if that makes for a good relationship. Now, on that point, I think I have a perception that it's probably better if you actually, you might share some commonality of what you like to do, but also it's good to have some different things, so you've got different things to talk about. If you only do the same things together, that's not necessarily a recipe for a good relationship. But I can still see why, looking at people's compatibilities in a fairly fundamental sense, it is a very good thing. For example, I know you're a man of the cloth, you're a man of the church with your religion, although we don't talk about religion. In a looking at it point of view, would it be good for you to be with someone who's an atheist? If you fell in love with, if we put that into your question, if this woman who loves you madly is also an atheist, would you think, well, I don't care about that because she loves me and I can make a lot of the decisions which you talked about? But would it be a good thing or a negative that you both had a very conflicting view on something pretty basic, pretty fundamental like that? So again, that may be an argument for it's preferable to fall for somebody who you've got a lot of compatibility with. Because if you really not like each other in these ways, it's not really going to work. So it does raise the question of falling in love or compatibility, ideally a mixture of both. But ultimately, we can't choose. it comes back to stuff I've put in my songs, like I think Aphrodite's Voice, where, this person saying, can you please just love me like I love you? Well, of course, it doesn't work like that. It's what the heart wants. The heart gets what the heart wants. It's not what we see that we think we can control. So It's an interesting question, but all I would say is good for you to have two ladies around you who are keeping you well occupied, I expect.
Well,
Well done.
Of our gang will make the show go with a bang and fund the aim of everything cast us and fund the aim